Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm working on a PlayStation 3 Slim with a very unusual fault. As you can see, the moment I press the power button, the console immediately shuts down. There is no stable green light, no blinking red light and no green light of death. It simply attempts to start and instantly powers off. This type of fault can be quite challenging because the console is not staying powered on long enough for the normal startup sequence to complete. When that happens, we have to think about which circuits are involved in the very first stages of power up. Let's open the console and take a closer look. After removing the top cover and disassembling the system, I have the motherboard on the bench. The first thing I always do is clean the board using a soft brush and compressed air. Dust, contamination, and even dried flux residue can sometimes hide important clues. Looking at this motherboard, it appears to be in completely original condition. Now, before jumping directly to the cell processor, RSX processor or power regulators, I want to investigate one particular circuit that is critical during startup. This IC right here is the IDT9277B NLG clock generator. Some PS3 motherboard revisions use this device, while others use a CDC75 series clock synthesizer. Although the part numbers differ, they perform essentially the same function. Think of this chip as the motherboard's timing controller. The cell CPU, RSX GPU, Southbridge XDR memory, HDMI subsystem and several other devices all require precise clock signals in order to operate. Without those clock signals, the processors cannot execute instructions, memory cannot synchronize correctly, and the motherboard will fail to complete its initialization sequence. When the console is powered on, the SYSCON controller enables this clock generator. The clock generator then produces multiple frequencies derived from a crystal oscillator and distributes them throughout the motherboard. If any of those clocks are missing, unstable, or outside specification, the startup sequence can fail immediately. That is why I am paying special attention to this area. I am now using my SMD tester to examine the surrounding components including coupling, resistors, feedback resistors, biasing components and filtering networks. Several resistors in this area measure approximately 10 ohms, 12 ohms, 17 ohms and 33 ohms. These values look perfectly normal. Everything appears healthy so far. Wait a minute, this measurement does not look right. This resistor is measuring approximately 0.340 megaohms in circuit. That seems unusually high. Let's compare it with the surrounding components. This neighboring resistor measures approximately 0.329 kiloohms, which is much closer to what I would expect in this section of the circuit. The rest of the components also appear normal. So let's bring in a donor board. I am now measuring the exact same location on a known good KTE001 motherboard. Interesting. On the donor board, this resistor measures approximately 300 ohms, while on the faulty board it is measuring hundreds of kiloohms. That is a massive difference. At this point, there is clearly something wrong. The resistor itself may be defective or there may be a poor connection between the component and the PCB pads. Either way, this abnormal resistance could easily disturb the feedback network associated with the clock generator. Before replacing the component, I want to try something simple. Let's perform a controlled reflow and see how the measurement changes. The reflow process is now complete. After rechecking the component, the resistance value has dropped significantly. It is no longer measuring in the mega ohm range. That tells me we are definitely dealing with either a degraded solder joint, internal resistor damage, or an intermittent connection affecting the circuit. Now comes the interesting part. Let's see how the console behaves. I have connected the power supply and front panel board, and I'm going to power the console on. Wow, this time the console stays on. We now have a stable green light. That is already a huge improvement because previously the system could not remain powered on at all. Next, let's connect an HDMI cable and check for video output. The green light remains solid. The cell processor is warming up normally. The RSX processor is also generating heat as expected. Let's install the hard drive and heat sinks before continuing the test. Those are positive signs because they indicate that the main power rails and startup sequence are progressing further than before. Powering on again. Still no display. Let's wait. However, there is still no image on the screen. Let's give it some time. Still nothing. At this stage, I suspect that the clock generator circuitry may still not be operating perfectly because the resistor value has improved but has not yet returned completely to specification. And there it is, the display has finally appeared. That is amazing. The console is now generating video output reaching the XMB and shutting down normally when commanded. Let's test it one more time to confirm power on. And this time it boots directly into the XMB without hesitation. Now this is important. Throughout this entire repair, I did not touch the cell processor, I did not reflow the RSX, I did not replace the south bridge, I did not perform any BGA work whatsoever. The only area I worked on was the circuitry surrounding the IDT9277BNLG clock generator. This is a great example of why proper diagnosis is so important. Many technicians immediately suspect the CPU or GPU when a console fails to boot. But sometimes the real fault is a tiny passive component that affects a critical control circuit. To ensure long-term reliability, I do not want to leave a questionable resistor on the board. So I am now going to replace it with a known good component from the donor motherboard. Micro-soldering work like this requires precision and patience. As you can see, one of the nearby microcapacitors shifted slightly during the replacement process. Before continuing, I need to carefully reposition it and verify proper alignment. Everything looks good now. The resistor replacement is complete. I'm going to clean the area thoroughly because leftover flux residue can affect measurements and, in some cases, signal integrity around sensitive high-frequency circuits. Now, for the final test, let's power the console on one last time. Success. The PlayStation 3 boots normally, displays video immediately, and operates exactly as expected. Another motherboard level repair completed successfully. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this repair and learned something useful, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next repair video.